What's up, guys? I'm gonna do a discussion on the last two chapters of Hunter x Hunter 340.5 and 340.6. The creator has gone on hiatus for over half a year, and so we don't know when that will be returning. However, these chapters are named as they are because they are sort of special chapters, sort of like a mini, sort of non-canon miniseries that doesn't really relate at all, and so it's not really that into the plot, but I still want to talk about it because it's still the last two chapters of Hunter x Hunter officially. Now, I'm assuming you've read the chapter already, so I'm going to give out the spoiler alert warning, but I do want to talk about the last quote. So it's a very well done special chapter. Apparently Hunter x Hunter, which I thought was not too mainstream, is actually very mainstream as of today. In 2013 it was one of the top 10 most sold manga. However, this was a very cool thing because rather than the typical 20-page chapters, these were 40-page chapters and very well done. So I was told that these were done in accordance to some sort of movie that was coming out, sort of like a prediction or sort of foreshadowing to a movie. I don't think so. Maybe it is, but I felt it was just simply a reminiscent flashback that was very much related to why Kurapika is sort of very into this sort of death of his family. And I thought it was very well done. The one thing about flashbacks that people screw up on is that when they do them, they're just pretty much repeating everything that's already been said about the flashback. And we didn't see this because there was a lot of new details in the flashback regarding why Kurapika had mentioned that he was so pissed off. I mean, we already know that the Phantom Troop came in, killed the people, took their eyes, but a lot of detail was put into it, a lot of backstory. It was sad in a lot of points, but I want to get to the quote at the end. Basically, the culprits, the troop at the end, left a message which was very strange in my opinion. It says something like, "We reject no one, and therefore you can't take anything from us." Now, this is a very cryptic message, especially from the Phantom Troop, who I would deem as a sort of the troop that is very confident and proud that they are simply evil people. And so it's a very cryptic message, almost like an honorable message. And so if anyone understands that or knows what that's supposed to mean, leave it in the comments. Based on all my knowledge of Hunter x Hunter, I can't really think of what this message could possibly mean. Maybe it's just another message, like one of those cryptic messages from the cryptic leader of the troop, Crollo. And again, I want to go back to the troop arc, the Phantom Troop arc. I really liked the whole thing where one of the members decided to give up her own life in place of the troop, at the same time shooting her memories into almost all of the troop members. And I thought this was very good because, remember, at the time, the leader, Crollo, said, "If I fall into this sort of predicament, leave me behind, the troop will continue, and we will be for the better." And that's what most of the troop decided to do. She took it upon herself to not do that, and she risked the huge thing, which was possibly losing a great majority of the troop members in order to save the leader, rather than doing what the leader told them to, which was leave him behind, nominate a new leader, and then the troop will still move on, having only lost one member. And so she was very smart, and by doing what she did, she lost her own life for Crollo's, which was a very good trade because it was just 1 for 1 rather than half the troop for one leader. Anyhow, we go back to this sort of special 340.5 and 340.6. It's definitely a two-part special, and it ended with this very cryptic message, which I can only deem to be something just a random saying that the troop left behind. And what I liked about this sort of mini story was, it was, in a lot of ways, again, I really commend this creator. In a lot of ways, it is not the same as sort of what you would expect from a typical storyline. Like, the typical storyline goes exactly as you would predict it. And I was very surprised by the twist. I thought it was a very generic sort of storyline where he goes in, he screws up, he gets frustrated, his eyes turns red, and then he learns a lifelong lesson. And then we go from there. Instead, it seems like, first off, I was expecting Kurapika, based on the backstory, to be a very solid person and sort of stand her ground. And she did not do that. She immediately got enraged and was very stupid in doing so. And so I was surprised there. Then I was surprised again when I thought, okay, now she's going to learn her lesson. She was stupid for getting enraged and failing this test. Boom, turns out these bad guys who incited her were actually, they're not really bad guys. They were paid to do this. They were actually decent people. Well, maybe not decent, but sure they were paid to do this. It wasn't in their true intentions. And they weren't great people. They got carried away. They kind of liked doing it. But yeah, it seemed like Kurapika was in the wrong. The elder of the village had paid these people to do it, and Kurapika had failed the test. And personally, I don't think the elders did anything wrong in doing this. I mean, you have to expect anything from this world, and she failed the test. She could have easily just kept a level head and continued on. She did not. She got enraged, her eyes turned scarlet. Then the next surprise was the fact that the real bad people were the village people. They immediately turned on these children as soon as they saw the scarlet eyes. They, at least this grandma, started calling these people abominations, monsters, get out of our town, and all this stuff. And then at first I thought, okay, maybe it's just the older generation still stuck in traditional ways. Then the younger generation, you see the dialogue from them, they're like, they're agreeing. They're like, and at first it looks like they're holding back the grandma, but then you see they're only holding them back because there's, and this is said in the dialogue, they're scared that if they anger these children, that the children will kill everyone in the village. And so there's still this sort of prejudice and fear regarding these sort of scarlet-eyed people. And I'm glad, at least in this part of the world, it's not like that. I mean, technically we don't have scarlet eyes, but we do have blue eyes. And sure, we have them at all times, but that might even be worse. So I do feel like we have grown in the sense that we're not that prejudiced as in the manga. And I really think in a lot of ways it's kind of ironic because Japanese people can be pretty prejudiced at times. So it's kind of like what I like the fact that you are trying to instill these sort of values and morals through your story to not be prejudiced, and yet again, I don't want to pigeonhole all Japanese people, but yeah. Anyhow, moving on. Rest of the story, I really thought it was very good. The Phantom Troop, especially the very last page of this two-part series, the whole description of how the Phantom Troop sort of found and tortured and killed the village members to get the eyes. First off, it's a new twist in the story. I think, again, it's just an example of how the creator makes up stuff as he goes. It was mentioned before that after the massacre, they only managed to procure like 7 eyes total, 7 sets of eyes total, at least as far as the black market arc was concerned, the auction arc. And yet here it seems like there's 120 members killed. Sure, not all of them were pure-blooded, but that still leaves like the majority were. So that would mean like 80 sets of eyes. And based on the price they were sold at the black market auction, I don't think that's realistic because they were sold at like one of the highest prices. Sure, they weren't like rank A level difficulty of acquiring, but I believe it was something ridiculous like 800 million, whatever the currency is called, and at least from what we saw of the Phantom Troop arc, that was the highest priced item of the entire auction by far, even though it was only like a rank D level of acquiring the item, which is very curious. And it was like something like 800 billion or something. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the reason why I don't think that's accurate is because with 80 of those eyes, or even like a dozen of those eyes, you could like control the entire economy of the entire world with that kind of money. I mean, it's just unbalanced. It's like a ridiculous amount. It's like let's say, you know how in the 50s, the 1950s, the economy even of the best nations on the earth, like $1 million was like a lot, and it's almost like the same thing of going into the 1950s with $100 billion. Like it's ridiculous to have that sort of money. It's just you'd be able to control everything, and that's not to say, oh yes, the Phantom Troop has now controlled everything, because first off, they haven't. Second off, I think it's just a miscalculation based on the creator. And so finally, I really liked the whole arc. It really showed a lot of values. It really did what it was intended to do, which was pull on your heartstrings on how these simple village people had sort of become naive after the years of running and being nomadic, and maybe after hundreds of years of doing so, their guard sort of, maybe they lit up their guard and they were all slaughtered. I'm very sort of surprised that after hundreds of years of nomadic movement, they're still only at 120 members for a tribe, which I think is very small, pretty dangerous as well. But at the same time, it's the only thing I didn't like about it was the whole idea of Kurapika failing the test by just not controlling her emotions, and by doing so, she still passed due to a little trickery. And I guess it was slightly redeemed in the fact that her friend sort of made the point that it wasn't fair because the elders were plotting in different ways to sort of ambush her or sort of bring her down by paying these people to sort of harass her. Regardless, I don't think it's something she should have passed. I think it was still very fair for the elders to do something like that, because you have to expect anything. And as seen by this scenario, she lost her cool and she almost got persecuted by the entire tribe, and they were very lucky to have left the town. So I didn't really like the whole outcome of, the trickery with the switching of the eye drops that led to her passing the test. I think she should have passed eventually, but at the same time, and okay, I forgot that she only had one chance to take the test, and so I guess that is why I guess what happened was halfway through the creator was making it, and then he realized, oh shoot, if he doesn't pass this, he won't have another chance. But I do feel, he kind of got copped out in sort of passing the test. It was a cop-out. Regardless, very much like the arc. I don't like Kurapika as a figure, mainly because of how dorky and weak and simplistic she looks with the big puffy sort of poncho she always wears around. I mean, that's not badass to me. And she always looks like a girl. She talks like a girl in the anime. That sort of poncho-esque clothing, it's just not for me. And then when she takes it off, especially like that time in the Hunter exam arc, it just looked even worse. It looked like she was like a little kid wearing like white pajamas. And then sure, the chain thing with her fingers, it slightly redeemed her. It was slightly badass, but at the same time, I didn't like the outfit. Also, she's short. She's like really short. Don't really understand that. I like the Scarlet Eye thing, but at the same time, have a little more detail. Be like Naruto with the Sharingan. It's scarlet eyes, little kiddish figure. I don't know, but very much pulled on my heartstrings. Very much like the arc in general. Not as much as the maybe Chimera Ant arc, but it was decent to say the least. Decent to say the most as well. Wasn't the best thing ever. So that's my review and talk. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. It's completely free. See ya.